Beyond our fear of change, there is a reason why people can say what is meaningful and fulfilling to them, yet not make the change. Because fear makes sense, right? Like you're changing your life from something it isn't to something you want it to be. And that transition has a lot of uncertainty, has a lot of change, and humans don't like change. We like knowing what works, what's predictable, like, how things are going to go. We like having a plan. But when you're changing your life or you're changing who you are, it's unpredictable. So there's fear. Baseline. Everyone is going to deal with that to a degree. But there's something else that speaks to something more nuanced and deeper that I don't think people understand. And if it's talked about in very small circles, because I've yet to see this broadly spoken about. It is that our brain's ability to define meaning and fulfillment, like if I were to ask you, what would make life meaningful? What makes life fulfilling? You can probably list a bunch of things, right? Like, spending time with my loved ones, if you're a parent, being a good parent, if you have a partner, being a good partner, making sure that they feel loved, helping others, right? Like you can list a bunch of things that you believe in your head, academically, cerebrally, that would make life meaningful and fulfilling. But if I ask you how much time you spend on those things, how much effort goes towards those things, whether you feel like currently you are living those things, and what is the gap between those? Most people have a pretty big gap. Most people aren't living those things. And especially if people have big aspirations, right? Like this used to frustrate me for so many years because my whole reason for being, which is also my work because my life is very integrated, is to enable, I exist to see things clearly, see to the heart of the matter. But my mission is to enable people to live true to themselves, their authenticity, and to their purpose, to know what they want and to go for it and to serve others. And it used to confuse the fuck out of me because people would say, if only I knew what I wanted, if only I knew what my dream life was like, what I wanted to go after, what my mission was, I could do it. So cool. I'm like, let's do that work. We'll do the work of clarifying meaning, fulfillment, dream, mission. But we would do that. People would claim these beautiful missions, almost always about serving others and supporting their loved ones. But very few would act. Very few could transition it to reality, to move it towards reality, to fully step into that. And it would confuse the hell out of me because I'm like, they said, if they could know this, if they could clarify this, they could move. And over time, I was kind of like, what the fuck is it? What is this gap? What is it? Because it was more than just general fear. And it clicked for me, finally, after spending a lot of time. So it's not like it just suddenly clicked. But I spent a lot of time contemplating, talking to people, researching. And what I understood then is that it is behavioral. It is our training. It is something deeper. But what it specifically is, and this is the part that I don't see people talking about because I don't know that people understand this nuance as broadly, it's not as widely accepted or understood in society, is our ability to define meaning and answer these questions about what would be fulfilling, what would a meaningful life entail. Our ability to answer that and access that information in our brain, at least what we think it is not connected to how we understand our worth and our value. Because how we understand our worth and our value is what drives our behavior at our core. Not the only thing, but it's a major driving force. And if our understanding of value and worth, well, first, the reason why that's such a driving factor is because that determines our belonging. If we can ensure that we are valuable and we are worthy, then we ensure belonging, right? That we are contributing, that we won't be rejected. And so we want to continually ensure that we are useful. And it doesn't have to be in an unhealthy way. Like, it can be healthy, but that's what drives us, to make sure that we're productive humans, right? Humans are wired to be that way. And I don't mean productivity in this, this new modern sense. I just mean generally productive, right? That like we're of value to society, to the world in some way. So if our understanding of our worthiness and our value is not connected to our understanding of meaning and fulfillment, then these exist in two separate places. Because you might say, spending time with my loved one, being with my family, making sure my kids know they love them, spending time with my partner or my kids is most important. But you don't actually, because you're working really fucking hard, because you are putting in the hours so that you can be a provider, a better, like, you want to save for the college fund, you want to save for your retirement, you want to make sure you can be a good like partner, and you've understood your value and your worth connected to your ability to make money, provide, be a productive member of society, like grow, like, increase your status within your company, grow your business, make more money. Like, if you understand it in these terms, then time spent with your kid and the people you love isn't going to serve this. It's not going to get you more money. It's not going to help you be a better provider. It's not going to like help you increase your status within your professional life. And until you can connect these things, this will continue to be a once I do this, once I serve and prove my value and my worth, then I can focus on this. Even though you say the whole reason you do this is for like the loved ones, the partner, the kids. But do you see the disconnect? Because what drives this space of you being valuable is a definition that usually comes from a much older place, from a place of striving, from a place of needing to prove yourself, from a place of needing to ensure not only, maybe to others, maybe to yourself, like each person's a little bit different. It could be a combination of both, that you're good. And if you don't evolve that drive and that definition and your understanding up here about what makes you valuable and good, you can develop new definitions of meaning, but it doesn't change your drive. And until you can evolve your drive to include this new definition of meaning or new definitions of meaning, it's gonna be really difficult to connect and like sync these two. Because you're going to continue to justify not spending time with the people you love and on the things that matter to you, your passions maybe, because your drive needs to prove something here. But the sooner you can integrate the two, the sooner you can evolve your definition of your value to understand that your value isn't just as a worker, builder, achiever, earner, provider. The more that you can add in parent, lover, partner, friend, son, daughter, human, and evolve your drive to serve not just your old definition of worthiness, your singular definition of worthiness and value, but rather all of these new ones, so that you can start to drive your behavior not just in this direction, but in all of these directions together. You're not going to align these two. They're going to stay separate. And the work is starting to figure out what this drive is even about, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know how they've understood their drive. They're like, oh, I've just always been this way. I've always been driven to do these things. I've always been da-da-da-da. But if we haven't really broken it down, we don't understand how much society has contributed to this. Our family narratives, our culture, our upbringing, our schooling, our professional lives, and our peers, and our bosses, and our mentors, and the people that we think we, value, and the people whose lives we say we want. We don't realize how much that slowly seeps into this. And unless you've also allowed all these other things around, what you really find to be meaningful and what matters to also seep in, then you're going to continue to only feed your drive in this way. And so the more you can understand what has driven you, the more you can start to identify when it's happening and to start to intentionally break it down and deprogram yourself so that you can reprogram yourself to incorporate the things that truly matter. You don't have to get rid of all of these things per se. You just get rid of the stuff that doesn't work anymore, that you don't need anymore, that's driving you in ways that are unnecessary or unhelpful. And start to make sure that all the stuff that is really valuable, that is healthy, that is valuable, that is helpful, that is meaningful, becomes the fuel. That taking that trip with your partner, maybe forget a trip actually, just the daily stuff, taking that walk in the park with your partner, reading that bedtime story to your kid, watching them even just eat, it can be joyful. Spending time on your passion and your hobby, building that project, starting that project you've always wanted to start. If you can start to incorporate that kind of understanding of value into your life, then you'll actually be able to build your life towards the meaning and the fulfillment that you in your head have defined. But until you can get away from this understanding of value, this very kind of, to a degree, elementary understanding of your value, it's going to keep driving you because you've been trained in it for so long. You've done this for far longer. And you're habituated. You're used to it. And so it is a matter of habit. But you have to break this habit down first and recognize it so that you can start to evolve it. Because if you don't recognize it, if you don't understand it, if you don't have curiosity around why it is and how it is, it's really hard to break it. And it's really hard to evolve it long term. You can certainly do it in the short term. You can cold turkey some things. You can just suddenly say, I'm going to do this. But it usually won't be sustainable because you haven't addressed it at a foundational level. Because what you're really trying to change and evolve is the foundation, not the behavior, not the surface level behavior. And the underlying foundation is rooted in, how do you understand what your value is? And if you can re-examine that, you can start to extract, like I said, what is no longer helpful and start to incorporate what truly is. And then you can start building again. Because you clearly got to your achievement some way because you're good at building. But if you're not good at building in a holistic way with all the things that matter to you, then you're never going to get this to happen. You're not going to get your deathbed wish. And I wish all of you your deathbed wish. And what I wish even more is that people start as soon as possible so that you don't waste time keeping these two things separate, that you integrate sooner. And you don't have to wait till you're almost on your deathbed to spend the time living the way that you truly want.